In Kenosha all weekend long following Friday's verdict coming down in the Rittenhouse case. Kyle, thank you for joining us. So tell us, I mean, was it not surreal for you at the time? The jury came back, acquitted on all charges, and there was a calm, but now it feels like the media is the one who's sparking up the anger, the animosity, the angst.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was completely surreal. I was on the steps of the Kenosha County Courthouse as the verdict was announced, and as you've outlined, the situation was remarkably peaceful. Of course, those gathered immediately jumped to the racial angle. They said that this was a white supremacist verdict, but there was no violence. In fact, over the days that I was in Kenosha, I only saw 4 arrests. One of the people who was arrested was immediately set loose with only a fine. But as we've seen in the days following this verdict, even though there hasn't been violence in the streets, the mainstream media seems to be opining for some sort of greater protest. If you turn on CNN or MSNBC, you would think that this was a totally unexpected verdict, that this came out of nowhere, that it's totally unjustified. But even the protesters that were in front of the courthouse understood on some level that this was warranted because nobody seemed surprised.
Kyle, were you there last August 25th, 2020 when the violence broke out?
I was not. I was over in Minneapolis covering unrest there, but I did have some friends that were in Kenosha originally.
And what is the sense of that night? Does it feel like in Kenosha, now I notice you're a young white male, so I guess you don't really have a say in America these days, but was justice served in the Kyle Rittenhouse case?
Justice was indeed served in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. I took a drive around Kenosha, and it's a remarkably normal middle American town that is still scarred by the violence of BLM protesters who were protesting Jacob Blake last year. There are still buildings in Kenosha that are crumpled and covered in charcoal, charred remains of what used to be family businesses that no one's even cleaned up, because nowadays, as we're also seeing in Minneapolis, why would you even bother cleaning up if the threat of a riot can be just around the corner?
So give us a sense, because we didn't know a lot of the things, and the jury didn't even know when Kyle Rittenhouse shot 3 separate people that night, obviously all 3 white people, so I don't think race has anything to do with it, but he shot 3 separate people. All 3 of those people ended up being criminal record thugs. Jury never heard that, though. So why were 3 people shot there, all with criminal records? Kenosha is not a criminal town. Where are those people coming from?
Well, those people were the criminal element, and Kyle Rittenhouse embodied law and order in my understanding of the situation and in the jury's understanding of the situation. As we all saw on the video, and as my friends who were there have told me, Kyle Rittenhouse is a civic-minded young man who was trying to do his duty, protect his father's town. These people, they came out of the woodwork to chase him. Mr. Rosenbaum actually drove further to get to Kenosha than Kyle did, even though, MSNBC talks all about how Kyle crossed state lines. He drove 20 minutes. The people that moved into Kenosha to cause chaos, some of them moved in from the surrounding community. We're talking, Milwaukee, Chicago. And when I was on the ground in Kenosha, people were very concerned about that. I talked to some of the locals, and they said that they were afraid of what would happen if Chicago BLM came to protest in their city. And when I was there, I saw certain elements of the Chicago Black Panthers that had made the drive preemptively, I suppose, in case some sort of more violent protest would kick off.
There are a couple of high-profile cases going on right now. Armand Arbery right now in Georgia. Also, a self-defense claim by 2 white males who shot an unarmed black guy. He died. That may be the case if these guys are acquitted. I could actually skip behind some of the protests then, because it doesn't seem like that was a self-defense. This is far different, though, no?
Absolutely, absolutely. And, in Minneapolis, where I'm sitting right now, I returned from Kenosha very recently. I'm sitting in Minneapolis, where Alpha News is based. And we're thinking about the Kim Potter trial. Kim Potter, the police officer who thought her gun was a taser and shot a man here in Minneapolis. We're very hopeful that justice is done in that case. And even though, the left-wingers are threatening violence, we're confident that a jury will return a good verdict. But I think it's a sad state in America where it seems like every week we're just preparing for the next series of violent events in case, these people aren't appeased.
Yeah, it's amazing, and you point that out. And also, we pointed out in the monologue how many people got this wrong. By some people calling it an AK, other people saying cross state lines with it. It's just amazing how many of the facts they completely bludgeoned into the facts. Kyle Hooten, do you say thank you for being here, my friend?
Thank you so much.
All right, we're joined now by David Harris Jr. Some crazy reaction from the left after this verdict. David, if